What's up, Lego builders? Welcome back to Coconut Brick Studios. And this week of building Coruscant, I'm hoping to open the floodgates of progress and get a ton of work done. I heard your suggestions for the stairs in the comments of last week's update. I got some good stuff that I'm going to be implementing as far as how wide the steps are going to be, where they're going to be starting. I'm also going to be building another statue and adjusting the plateau again. And most importantly, my bins are drained down to my final bricks in some of them. And even though I've been getting monthly parts, all those parts have just been eaten up as soon as I get them. So I ordered in a ton of parts to hopefully replenish the stocks and allow me to get a lot of building done. And I also got the first of 10 hardly seen minifigs that I'm going to be using in this mock. It's gonna be a big week, so make sure you've got a snack, some popcorn, and don't forget to execute order 66 on that like button, and let's get started. First thing I'm gonna do this week is build the barricade or road chunks that line the crater Captain Fordo stands in. Upon further inspection, it looks like it's just a bunch of chunks of road, droids, and parts of vehicles. So I'm just gonna make a bunch of mounds using random slopes, bricks, and tiles, and then stick droid bodies and other stuff between those chunks. These chunks should end up looking like pieces of the road that got smashed and pushed together, so there isn't really a specific shape I'm going for, just something that looks cool, and so far they look really good and blend into the road very nicely, making it all look like one big build. I really like how the individual chunks come together and make it look like one solid wall of broken up road. I decided to tile off one of the bank teller stations because the bank interior has been messy for a while. I've been waiting to get the teller walls back in and put the rest of the glass panes back in each station, but none of that could be done until the floor was tiled off. Plus, I haven't seen what the teller area will look like when it's all finished. Not much else will go back here. I'm probably gonna add some seats for the employees and maybe a few money carts to bring out or put away people's deposits. I also have some gold and silver studs lying around to represent Republic credits that got thrown about as people were scrambling to leave the bank. Let's check this progress. The Fordo Easter egg crater, whatever you want to call it, is looking real nice. I mean, it's basically finished at this point. The only things I'm going to add are like the battle droids, minifigs, and like vehicle parts at the very end of the series. I'm really happy with how this wall of rubble turned out. Once I decided and realized that I didn't need to build something specific, I just needed to build some kind of like heap or jumble of bricks to create a wall, that's when the creativity started to flow, and that's when I was able to come up with something that I liked. Sometimes, you know, I feel like I have to know the perfect thing right away, or I have to know what exactly it is I'm building, and then sometimes, like in this case, I just need to tell myself, like, build what you see on the screen, which was, you know, a bunch of lumps stuck together to create a barricade, and then go from there. And, you know, I ended up getting something I'm happy with. Moving on to the bank, we finally, at long last, get to see what a finished side looks like, and this is pretty sweet. This tall wall just adds such a cool, imposing look to this bank, and then you got these nice little cubicles tucked away up here, and then this teller station turned out great. I was able to tile off everything, and then you can see in here I got the seats and little cart that I was talking about. Those gold tiles are supposed to represent Republic credits. I know they're massive. They're like the size of a minifig's arm, but that's the smallest you can go with Lego. The cart design is really simple. I didn't really have much in mind other than some kind of cart looking thing that could be pushed that you could set stuff on top of. Same principle with the seats, just something super simple that would look good. I've got like a little computer station at each teller stand, and I think that's pretty much it. I don't know what else I would need in here, so that's very nice to have all that figured out. Now I just need to replicate it on this side. Moving on to the steps. We talked a lot about these last week, and, you know, I threw out some suggestions. You guys gave me some good feedback, and what I'm going to be doing next is figuring out what they're going to look like, because I have decided I don't want to continue the steps like this. I want to make them wider and shorter, and a couple people suggested going with 3 studs instead of 4. That way it isn't too big of a jump from 2 studs to 4 studs. 3's kind of in between, and I thought that was a great suggestion, so thanks for that, guys. And what I'm trying to figure out now is how far do I want these stairs to go up before this last piece comes in and overlaps on top of them. I'm thinking about having maybe 2 steps here, and then this last chunk of mock that's going to slide across the top will have another 2 steps for a total of 4. That's what I'm going to be figuring out next. But before I get back to work, I have probably the biggest Lego haul I've ever gotten for a mock series, and I don't even have all the packages yet. We've got not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 packages to go through. This isn't a haul video, this is a mock building video, so I'm only going to give you the highlights. from lego.com. Pick a brick wall. I got a ton of tiles. These are much needed for the stairs. More pieces in for the statues. And then in here, take that out, I've got bricks for the back of the Senate, for the sides and the stairs. Gonna need a lot of those. I've also started to be more serious about the minifig collecting because I'm gonna need a lot of random minifigs for the mock and I don't wanna have to buy them all right at the end. More bricks in this one, more gray pieces, a lot of gray pieces. There's one of these that I'm really excited to show you. I think it's this one. Oh yeah, here it is. I got my first Senate Commando. People have been asking me about these. I know Scott Davis in particular has been wanting to know. Here we go. The Senate Commando collection starts. I've got 3 more on the way, so I've got 4 right now. These actually look really cool. I'm excited to use these in the mock and have them for future projects. You guys can see, I literally bought pieces for just about everything because like I was saying at the end of last week's update, I really need to make some serious progress over these next couple of weeks and get to the point where the last month is really just cleaning things up and working on setting up minifigs in the Senate and the actual Senate building, and I still have a ways to go before that happens. So that's why the huge influx of parts. I've got more plate, Senate Commandos, and other stuff on the way. But before we get back to building, I've got a special haul here. This is from Michigan Bricks. A lot of you guys may know him. He's a longtime friend of the channel. He sent over a very special minifig. That is our boy Palpatine. This is actually the Palpatine from Palpatine's Arrest, the Lego set, which is super rare and hard to find. So I really appreciate you sending me this, Michigan. I can use them in the mock, hopefully. And now you guys don't have to roast me for using my Barisafi minifig in the challenge videos. First things first, I gotta fix this plateau. As you remember from last week, it's the wrong height, to where it's only 1 plate below the first step, making that last step onto the plateau shorter than the rest by 1 plate. I thought this wouldn't be a big deal, but once I kept building and saw what it would look like, I knew it had to change. So I'm gonna lower the whole plateau 1 plate, which means I have to break the build that I was touting as permanent last week.
Ironic.
You might be thinking to yourself, Coconut, why not just raise it 1 brick and make it flush with the step? That would be so much easier. Maybe, but you will find out why later. I'm trying to figure out where the transition of 2 stud wide steps to 3 stud wide steps will be. Right now, it's gonna be a couple steps above the plateaus, and I feel like it looks a little weird. Planet Tech suggested starting the 3 stud wide steps at the plateaus and tunnel, and this would be a good spot because it would be kind of like a natural transition point, but the tunnels and plateau aren't the same height, so the 3 stud wide steps wouldn't start at the same spot and line up across the whole mock. So what I think I'm gonna do is start the 3 wide steps above the main tunnel, running the width of the mock, and then I will just add 2 wide steps above the plateaus until they meet up with the bigger ones. And if you thought this was a lot of steps, I'm going to have even more right in front of the Senate building, but those are going to be a little bit shorter in height and fancier. I want to use the wedge and triangle tiles to curve the edges and make them kind of pyramid up to the Senate building entrance. I started and experimented with the 3 stud steps above the plateau because it was a small, easy space which I could use to figure out how everything would look. And now that I have a game plan, I need to get the tunnel roof finished so I can run those steps all the way across the mock. And speaking of tunnels, I still don't know what to put on top of it. As you know, there's a huge flat area, and obviously I'll have minifigs and other stuff going on, but I'm wondering if it needs some kind of permanent structure like statues, designs in the floor, or fountains to match the vibe of the plateaus. If you guys have any suggestions, let me know in the comments. Take a look at these stairs. I am loving how they're looking. I honestly think I might like the 3 stud wide steps more than the 2 stud wide steps. They're just, you know, a little bit bigger, a little bit more imposing. There's less of them, I don't know. And one cool thing is I can pose the minifigures on the 3 stud steps easier because, you know, with the 2 stud one, they're either squished against the back like that, or part of the body is dangling off over the edge. But with these 3 studs, I can stick them right in the middle. It's nice to have this step match the rest of them. I know there were a lot of people who said it didn't bother them, but it was bothering me, and look at that. The problem's been fixed, and it wasn't even that much of a hassle. Oh yes, I almost forgot. I was going to explain why I lowered the plateau instead of raising it. Over here on this side, this plateau is now flush with this step, which I just think looks better than if I had raised the whole platform. It would have been above this step, which, you know, wouldn't have been a huge deal, but I just like the way it planes in right there. Plus, if I had raised this up to be level with this one, there would have only been a single step that was 2 studs wide before the 3 stud wide steps. I thought that might look kind of weird of like having a plateau, 1 step that's 2, and then 3. It's like, why not just make them all 3 at that point? So I figured with 2, the transition would be a little less jarring. So here's what's going down moving forward. I've got this 1x2 brick in right here and this 1x3, And this is where the last section is going to come over and hook onto these steps. So pretend that this is part of this section. It's going to come across right here and then clip in right there. This will create one more 3-wide step, and then all of this will be the flat Senate building. I do want to have some more steps up here, but they're going to be a little bit more in the front, and like I was saying, they're going to have some kind of a design. I feel like they're going to be more ceremonial and decorative than functional, so I'm not going to have them very tall either. I also got another statue built, this one right here. So I only have 2 left, and this whole section will be done. Still can't get over how good these look. Moving on to the tunnel. I'm pretty happy with how it's looking, pretty dark, pretty imposing. It's definitely going to add a lot to this section. The main thing that I'm trying to figure out right now is what's going on the top here. I didn't really have many plans for it. I didn't really think a whole lot about it because my focus was on the plateaus. And I guess I could just run more statues on here, have another set of 6, but I don't know if that's going to be too many statues. There's going to be a lot of statues. Maybe I might try doing that. I thought about a fountain. That wouldn't really make sense because, piping water in would be kind of hard considering there's a giant tunnel underneath. So I thought about just creating a simple design with these wedge tiles and triangle tiles. So these would all be raised up 1 stud above this, and I'd basically create some kind of like shape like that would jut out into this flat section. So it wouldn't make it as flat, but I wouldn't have to do too much building. I'm probably just gonna have to actually build it and see how it looks before I'll know what I want to do. I am so happy to have this section all figured out and have the final height done because I still have a lot of pieces. I can go crazy on that side and get it done as quickly as I want. I don't have to do any kind of like planning or experimenting. It's 2:30 a.m. I've been building for hours, but I want to keep this progress ball rolling, so I'm going to build the 2nd story floor of the entertainment complex. For how cool this section is, it's probably one of my least favorites in the mock, so I'll be excited when it's finished and I don't need to work on it anymore. I'm pretty sure I have 95% of the parts for the main structure, so it should be done soon, but man, what a killer week. Now it's time to recap and plan for the next one. Well, this ended up not being as much of a building heavy week. I think that's ironic that I say that considering how much got done, but I just had this idea in my head of like getting all the stairs done, finishing all these things, but I just felt like I needed one more week of planning to really hammer out that step design, and now I can move forward much quicker, having a lot more confidence and knowing what I'm going to be doing moving forward. So next week, you thought there was a lot of building. This week, I want to get all of the stairs done, all of the plateaus done, minus the statues because I'm waiting on parts. Hopefully all of the entertainment complex done, and if I get the right pieces in, finishing the clone base. So there are going to be some major bumps to the progress bar next week. All that being said, don't forget to let me know what you thought about this update down below in the comments, and I will catch you next time. But until then, happy building.